Our workshop, and we will move to agenda item 6.04, school-wide improvement plan mid-year reflection, and we welcome Mr. Reynolds and all of our school principals. So, welcome.
Good afternoon again, Mr. Furry, the board, Ms. Moore. Part of the school-wide improvement process is to have a mid-year reflection based off of data and progress and look at our current goals and our current progress and then make some adjustments and action steps as necessary to finish out the year. And so we have brought all of our principals here to share about 1 minute of some update and some action steps, and then we'll open it up to any questions based on the documents on the Word docs.
So it looks like in my order here, we have Belltower Elementary.
And they're going to run in the order that they
is it
are
already
sitting.
okay. All right, let's do that.
Good afternoon, board. Chair Furry, Superintendent Moore. Our highlight is going to be on our BTS 3 through 5 ELA scores. So currently, for progress monitoring 1, which was at the beginning of the year, 30% of our students scored on grade level, which is to be expected as they had not been taught the grade level standards as of yet. For progress monitoring 2, we were up to 46% of students on grade level. And with that projection, it's looking like 62% of students will be on grade level by the end of the year. We are aiming for 63% of our students to be on grade level. So for that 1%, we have been working really hard with the teaching and learning department of doing some strategic planning and coaching with our teachers to make sure that we're hitting that additional 1%.
I really like on your graphs that you showed not just the students who are below proficiency, but all of them. So it shows your attention to move all students. So that's really great. I see that you're, and this is a common theme along all of many of the school improvement plans, is that there's this focus on the planning side, right? And your challenge was that you had some big groups. So in your plannings, are you, what are the strategies that you're using that is clearly working for your school? And do you see that any that would be apropos to maybe share across to the other principals and schools?
So part of the district initiative, if I may, was the professional learning communities, and that was where Solution Tree came in for the very specific planning. One of the things that we did mid-year after our team went to the PLC, the Solution Tree Conference, was brought back. It's called a 15-day challenge, where you break out the unit of study into approximately 15 days. So that way the teachers really know where they're starting, where they're ending, where their tests are being done. And then at the end of that 15 days, they come back together. We call them collaborative team planning. They sit down with their data and they are planning out which students go to which teachers for that intervention and enrichment component. I would love to say that it is running as smoothly as that just sounded, but as we know, when we're getting anything up and going, there are some roadblocks. So that is one of the things that we have started seeing a lot of improvement and growth with recently. And,
nice. I like that. So, you know, kind of these shorter sprints, essentially. Interesting.
I had some really good help with those graphs, so thank you.
Vanell?
Carrie Presley, Bunnell Elementary. If we do a universal screener for gifted, I'd like to volunteer our school, and I think we have the most gifted English teachers in my school. To put that in there real quick. All of our areas of focus kind of are around improving Tier 1 instruction. So, in improving our subgroup data for our students with disabilities, that's an area where we want to kind of continue to move the needle. So we did make some mid-year adjustments so this is our grow for us of our 3 areas of focus. We are utilizing the CLSD grant with that. We have hired several paraprofessionals to provide targeted small group instruction to students. But we also mid-year did pivot to hire a teacher for 4th grade reading instruction to just kind of improve the Tier 1 reading experience for 4th grade, where we're seeing we're not seeing the growth we would like to see out of 4th grade. We have some really good grows in 3rd and 5th in this particular area of focus, but 4th grade is kind of a particular area where we're trying to do some additional supports and interventions. Just moving down to the areas of focus, we are continuing to move the needle with proficiency across grade levels. We are participating with FCRR to make sure we are using our literacy leadership team intentionally, and progress monitoring with those folks. And also a grow for us, we are expecting to have big gains in our 5th grade science proficiency. So I saw some of that was highlighted in the district goals. I feel like we're really going to help you guys there. 5th grade science, we're doing a lot of professional learning with our teachers, with hands-on instruction, understanding standards mastery, and really just building the confidence of our 5th grade teachers in teaching science, because that seemed to be something that came up was they just didn't feel as confident, so getting them prepared and ready to teach those standards as well.
So I see last year you identified that was the largest growth year
Yes.
for SWD. Have you identified what were maybe some of those items that were particularly impactful and are duplicating those? Are you
Yes.
seeing the same success?
Yes, so I think one of the biggest impacts was that targeted small group instruction. So really utilizing our academic coaches to train those paraprofessionals to provide that instruction, but also overall just improving tier 1 instruction. Rising tides raise all ships, right? So I think that's been a big factor in that as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay, Jessica Fries, Old Kings Elementary. Our focus continues to be on benchmark aligned instruction, our SSF group performance specific to Black African American students, and our differentiated instruction. Our mid-year data indicates that we are on pace to meet our goal for differentiated instruction specifically relating to students with disabilities. However, we are not yet on track to meet our goal for benchmark aligned instruction and our SSF groups. However, to address these needs, we've taken intentional steps with a strong emphasis on supporting our 3rd and our 5th grade students, such as the realignment of our instructional resources across all tiers of instruction, refining our mid-year pacing to ensure that the priority standards of each grade level are met and are continuing to be intentionally spiraled throughout. We've made enhancements to our collaborative team meetings and have the support of our curriculum specialist, which has been tremendous, so we appreciate that. And embedding intentional professional learning opportunities. We actually have iReady on campus today, running PL for our teachers on how to utilize their data to drive their small group instruction. And then finally, we've expanded tutoring opportunities based on our mid-year data to intentionally address the deficits in our PM2 data.
I will say that I'll give you a shout out the day that was with you and your students with disabilities class. I did not know who the teacher was compared to who the paraprofessional was, so I want to give you a shout out for that. I had no idea until I was told, so they did a fantastic job that day.
That's always the goal. We appreciate that.
I really like the format of your school improvement plan where you're very specific around the strategies that you guys are trying to implement. And I was curious around this one that I've not heard before called Child Study.
So we are digging into individual students and groups of students just to see if they are in the MTSS process, how long have they been in the process, what is their historical data looking like, are the interventions that we are implementing appropriate, and are they making significant progress, just so that we can ensure that all students are receiving the appropriate level of support.
All right, Travis Lee from Rimfire. We're, as Mr. Barnes touched on, we're definitely pleased with the progression that we've had in ELA and math overall as a school. We definitely have positive trends. We have a focus for our students with disabilities. We had great growth last year at 15%, but we still wanted to meet that threshold of the 41%. Last year we ended at 36% proficiency with students with disabilities, and this year we wanted to beat that, and we set a goal for 43%. I'm looking at area focus 3 for us currently. And so as we've progressed and looking at students with disabilities in grades 3 through 5, our grade 3 is an area of need in both ELA and math, as they are a little bit lagging from comparison from PM2 last year to PM2 this year. And then also grade 5 math. And so some of the things that we have done for students with disabilities is definitely our support facilitators. We've done universal design for learning training, making sure that we're providing interventions and we're also focusing on the grade level standard. We've also developed a student engagement walkthrough tool. That's an area that we're having to retool and make sure that we focus definitely in 3rd and 5th grade going forward, as those are areas that we have a need. We've aligned our tutoring dollars in grades 3, 4, and 5 for tutoring in ELA, and we've seen great benefit from that. And then we've also, with parent buy-in, implemented special area boot camps. Started in February with ELA and we'll be picking up in March as well for math. And so we hope to have continued growth and continued gains across grades 3, 4, and 5 and definitely impact our student with disability achievement.
On here it says that the student engagement walkthrough tool that you've not successfully used this tool yet. What are the some of the limiting factors?
So we had an opportunity with my AP and I went to Florida classes, which is where we kind of developed that tool. It just came down to just the implementation of getting into the classes and then providing that feedback to the teachers. So we're re-looking at the tool so that we can better do that as a leadership team. Now, that's not to say we're not going into classrooms, because
Sure.
we definitely, our
It's for that
teachers will say,
specific data
it's just for
point
that
and then to
specific
go back and
specific
talk
data
about it.
point
Yeah.
and talk to the teacher specific to what the students with disabilities are doing when we're in that classroom. So we will definitely be doing that going forward.
So you're looking for more time on task for students and trying to, especially a small group, that can be a challenge for some of the teachers, right? I see.
And it's the what the student is doing.
Okay, thank you.
Amy Neuenfeld for Wadsworth Elementary School, and our school improvement plan is focused on the continual improvement of reading and math proficiency, in which we are seeing much of the same trends, if not better, for last year. Our focus goals of helping students with disabilities, which I think is probably most of ours, is just slightly below, but when Scott was talking, he was talking about learning gains. So when we calculate where we currently are, I am looking strictly at proficiency and not necessarily at learning gains. So I'm hoping that it's even higher than what it currently is, but we are trending higher than we did last year, in which the year prior to that was like 26% proficiency, and we were at like 37, and we are trending that same way. But we are not there yet to the 41, but we are going to make the strides. And a lot of that is done through our professional learning communities. One of the things that Wadsworth has done very successfully this year is all of our teams are working together for the common goal. So our ESE teachers, our teachers, they are doing instructional walks of other people's classrooms. They're doing audits of the standards to make sure that they're aligned to the benchmarks. Their resources are being aligned, and this year we implemented frameworks for reading and math blocks. Their reading one is based on the science of reading, and now we're putting in what we call instructional routines that we do K-5. So they actually increase in rigor, but through K-5, these instructional routines are happening. And it is really cool to see, so I invite any of you who want to come see and read with our kids. But I do want to highlight a celebration. So reading proficiency has kind of been stagnant at Wadsworth. We've kind of been same old, staying at the same. And we have increased 15% just from PM1 to PM2. And our third grade is already at 51% proficiency. And so when you think about third grade in the retention year, 51% have already met the requirement, and most of them are at level 2s. So that is a significant increase. So it's a big celebration for them. And then we're going to continue to focus on our raised grade levels. It started in first grade, and those scholars are now in second grade. So we're targeting first and second and making sure that they are ready for reading, and that comes from the science of reading. Most of our teachers are now either at level 1 or level 2 letters trained, which is focusing on those 5 areas for the most components.
I need some help with a comprehension item on here. In your area of focus 1 for your ESSA subgroup, in the supporting data, it says the current proficiency rate for 4th grade is 0, which is 8% lower than last year's PM2. And then in the next paragraph says the current proficiency rate for fourth grade math is 13, which is 5% lower. So is that different subgroups in there? Because it's saying fourth grade math, PM2. Is one supposed to be PM1?
It's supposed to be fifth on the second one.
Oh, fifth.
Fifth.
Yes, sorry, that was,
Okay.
yes, fifth. I'll
So
fix that as a
in
typo.
fourth
Yeah.
grade, when you say 0, that's not just, but that's
Yes.
the ESSA subgroup
Yes, ma'am.
that are currently at 0% proficiency.
And one of the things, kind of speaking to Benel's fourth grade, a lot of the content comes after Christmas. So when you're looking at trend data every year from PM1 to PM2, fourth grade does not make significant growth. So the foundation is laid from multiplication division so that when they start doing fractions in the second semester, that's where that foundation is laid. Fourth grade tends to make this most growth from PM2 to PM3. I almost wish we could
Okay.
give PM2 just a little later for fourth grade to have a better indicator.
So you're not anxious because you've seen that trend before?
Yes,
Okay.
and we've also looked at iReady, which we didn't include in here because we were looking at state data. And iReady is trending the same as prior years. So that's kind of where we use it. It's a bigger indicator, but much of what they do for growth is PM2 to PM3.
Okay, great.
And we
Thank
did
you for
put
that.
like some things, we've got creative with just making sure we're being successful. We have 2 different recess times for fourth grade because we split it. And so like our math teachers, we cover as admin and my office team, lunch duty so that they can co-teach like our brand new teachers and kind of support them that way and do additional small groups.
I love that. Have you ever tried to do like a preview, let's say in third grade, of some of that fourth grade, you know, at the end of the year after the assessment is done? We've tried that sometimes. I mean, it's a struggle, but just curious.
And I think our third grade team does a great job of working on just the basic multiplication facts, but when you're starting to look at fractions, they may understand fractions, but then it's adding,
Oh, yeah.
multiplying, dividing, and so it's new concepts for them.
Yeah.
A lot of students who started in third grade, like, those are things that parents teach at home, and then you get to fractions and it may not be a lesson that they've done at home, so they're really learning new content.
Right.
Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Scott Bannon. I'm the assistant principal for Flagler and Alternative Programs, sitting in for Aaron Quinn today. Our goal focuses in on student engagement, but the way that we also have to look at our goals in a virtual world, we really need to engage our parents as well, especially to accomplish the goal that I want to emphasize today, because I feel like this goal sort of spreads itself to so many other areas. We want a school grade this year, so we are striving for the 95% completion and participation in our state testing. That would be huge for us, and the first time that we would be receiving a grade. So that's first and foremost for us. We also sort of tagged onto that a completion rate for our courses of 95% as well. And we have used a variety of different strategies, and I'll share some data with you as to how we are approaching this goal. When we look at our PM1 and PM2 data, we're proud to say we are hovering right around 89% participation, which seems to be up from last year. We have work to do to get to that 95%, but we do have some strategies in mind as to how we will go about that with the tools that are readily available to us, such as the Remind app. But we plan on making personal phone calls and being very flexible with our PM3 testing, meaning that most of the time we are testing in this building because our campus doesn't lend itself to bringing in all of the students. But we are going to open up our small little portable campus as well with a focus on some students who traditionally have not been attending. Maybe they would be more comfortable coming to that setting instead of this large building that seems to have a lot of traffic as well. So we do have some ideas in mind to get from 89 to 95.
So you
as well.
require them to be in person for this?
Yes,
For
ma'am.
these?
Yes.
So, like, some of the, let's say, college courses, they have tools that allow students to be assessed, you know, not in a testing center.
Yes.
You know, like Respondus, or even, you know, they monitor your eye movement through the camera. Is that just too expensive? Is that not an area you want to go down? Because I imagine people are choosing
Right.
to be in the
I think there's
remote.
valuable lessons to testing in person as well, where our teachers are available. Ms. Quinn makes
Ask
herself
questions
available
and
to
make sure
all
they're on task.
exactly
Okay.
high stakes, and we really want to gauge the students' learning. We don't want anybody else to give too much coaching. We know that in those types of situations, we want to help. You know, teachers want to help, parents want to help, but we really want to gauge where the students are at. So bringing them in is probably the best way to
Okay.
go.
The
I
state
get it.
also requires them to be in person.
Oh, really? I didn't
They're-
know that.
They
Thank
just
you.
finished a study on, because they did some remote testing last year with military families.
Uh-huh.
And they just finished a study, they haven't published it yet, to see if that's viable for online students.
Mhm.
But even our FLVS students have to come to brick and mortar to test.
Okay. Thanks for that.
We also made a push for our iReady tests to be in person this year as well. But due to the amount of testing, we have offered some virtual options for our iReady diagnostics. We're very proud that we have become a PBIS school this year. We have taken the initial steps in our launch to share a matrix of expectations with our students. Students also are sometimes trending on their teachers' dashboards if they're doing all the things that are expected of him or her. We're really trying to celebrate the students this year. And we're starting small, and some academic areas lend itself more to this than others in the virtual world. But the live lessons are super important, and some of our math teachers are doing that at this point in time. And a critical piece that we added to our team this year is a K-5 interventionist. I personally am grateful because we are able to give time to our K-5 students, which traditionally was a Tier 1 platform. So now we have an interventionist on staff who's able to work with those students regularly through Google Meet, with the hopes of giving them better tools for not just better testing data, but better skill sets, so when the time comes that maybe they want to transition into a brick and mortar school, they're better prepared.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Ryan Andrews, Indian Trails. So in general, our goals for our school improvement plan are to maintain or increase in all of our academic areas. And I think the big thing that we're proud of this year is that currently, right now, all the data is trending in the right direction. Some highlights are 7th grade reading is up from PM1 to PM2 8%. And then our students with disabilities for math in 8th grade is up 11% from PM1 to PM2. Civics is up 6% from last year, and science is up 5% from last year. But one of the biggest pieces that we attribute the success to is our ongoing focus in our Mustang Success class. That's our intervention time that we have daily, and we have strategically scheduled students into their grade level and area of focus. Specifically, 8th graders would take an enrichment for 8th grade science as the testing required for 8th grader. 7th graders would take a civics enrichment, and then students that are needing additional support would be placed with a math or an ELA teacher. And it seems to be working so far.
Kara Croft, Buddy Taylor Middle School. Our focus continues to be our students with disabilities. We saw a great increase last year on the federal index. We're hoping that that is going to continue to trend and get us to 47%. Right now in math, 21% of our students with disabilities increased a level, and 65% demonstrated growth from PM1 to PM2. In ELA, we had 20% that increased a level, with 60% showing growth. For our 8th grade math cohort, our math proficiency rose from 13.5% at PM1 to 30% at PM2, which is exciting because that's about where that cohort left at the end of last year, so they've already met that. Our ELA proficiency improved from 13% to 36%, and we're excited our students who are our intensive reading students, 9% of them have already scored a level 3 or higher, and 20% have scored at least a level 2, which is exciting. So.
I see you're reporting your numbers as and moving based upon the median. Is that across the board? Everybody's is comparative to the median, or were you guys using a mean?
average proficiency, you're saying?
Yeah, so Buddy Taylor's saying that 56% met or exceeded typical median growth as opposed to mean growth. So I was just wondering, they specifically labeled that. So is that across the board? Is it because to overcome
No.
outliers?
So
That was based on a new piece of state information that we received, so that's why we plugged that in for that. But you can see at the bottom, we're looking at
Okay, so
our growth.
I was just, and I just wanted to be able to interpret, we're all using median or average.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Mine was percent of students.
Percent overall, okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Percent of students proficient.
Yeah, well,
So I
Buddy
think that was
Taylor
elementary and then.
specifically was the DOE released a document in January that based on where a student tested in PM1, what the median growth statewide was between PM1 and PM2 and PM1 and PM3, and they compared all of their students to those median growth points.
Oh, I like that. So overall, you're not only taking a look at your own growth, but you're comparing it to the growth of the state. And so, the nation's report card came out and everything. So how since you've already done that exercise, where's Buddy Taylor sitting?
We're sitting in a good spot. We were excited that we were meeting that median growth in most of our areas. There were a couple that we were not, which I think was 7th grade ELA. But we're still focusing on, what can we do to get better? What can we keep this momentum going with? And some things that we're doing is like school-wide spiral reviews that are consistent, that our literacy coach and curriculum specialists are creating. So also that strategic scheduling during Eagle Advisory. Some of our teachers, like with math, it's very fluid. So they'll pull students in, be testing them, remediating them on standards. Once they've got those standards, they're moving them out and they're moving different students in based upon the needs. So that's how we're trying to keep moving forward.
Thanks for that.
I'm Bobby Bossernette from Flagler Palm Coast High School. The two goals that we're going to talk about, just obviously improving ESE student performance in ELA is a major focus for us. We are extremely excited that our mid-year data showed significant progress in this area. Our ESE ELA proficiency increased from 9% to 19%, so we're moving towards our 22% goal. We've broken down our PM2 data to help develop targeted intervention plans, which include differentiated small group instruction. Our teachers are super excited about our Lexia Power Up. It's providing our teachers with the data needed to determine student progress and improve individualized instruction with each of those students. So all of these factors are driving our student growth. At FPC, our next step include updated student intervention lists, and we are very excited and thankful to the district because they just approved additional tutoring opportunities that will be starting after spring break, specifically for students with disabilities that have been identified through this. The other goal that I wanted to touch up on is our acceleration and graduation rate. The data that we received in December gave us an acceleration rate of 47% for the class of 23-24. Our goal is to increase that by 5% with the class of 2025. Action steps, we are having quarterly meetings with our CTE AP and all of our CTE curriculum specialists and all of our teachers, and that's been going really well. They're all discussing the needs and barriers to industry cert tests, and are currently in the process of developing individualized teacher planning because we got to really focus on that of all the things that we have offering. Our AP potential list continues to be utilized, but we still require further execution. We're going to try to develop lists to identify kids that have not received a point in this area. Moving forward, we are really excited about the new plans that we have for our OJT and our DCT and our SLS classes because this is going to give our kids not only an opportunity to earn that acceleration piece, but these are also a group of kids that may not know exactly what they want to do. So we've put a lot of emphasis on what that looks like to prepare for those tests, and we've increased the number of offerings that we have for that. One of the barriers that we have for that right now is we had a teacher relocate in that area, but we're very excited because we are in the process of onboarding one right now to take that place.
Oh, that's great.
Excellent.
No questions for Mr. Bossert?
Save them all for you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Kristen Bozeman. I'm the principal of Matanzas High School. So just going to highlight two of our areas. First being the college and career acceleration. So we are very proud that we increased our college and career acceleration rate by 5 percentage points. This is a tricky one to put on your school improvement plan because it's a lagging indicator. So by the time we had written it on our school improvement plan, that group of kids had already graduated, but we view this as a 2-year goal at our school. So we're pleased with our work from last year, and we continue it this year. Our counselors worked really diligently over the summer to ensure that all of our 12th graders are sitting in a class in their senior year that gives them the opportunity to potentially earn that acceleration point in their senior year. So we do expect and anticipate that we'll see a significant increase once we get the graduation ready for this year's seniors. We also added a 10th grade course that's going to let some of our 10th graders start to take a bite of that a little bit earlier on. So we're cautiously optimistic about that one and excited about the results we already have. Also looking at focusing on improving the performance of our students with disabilities. Looking at our mid-year data, I want to give a shout out to Scott Reynolds because just looking through all of these, I'm seeing a lot of the data that's on here and I know where it came from, which is this fabulous spreadsheet that Scott provided for a lot of us. And in particular, it helped because he broke down last year where our students were on their midterm assessments, which is district assessments or state assessments, and then compared that with where we are this year, which is helpful perspective to know, we know where we ended the year last year, so how do we feel like we're doing for this year? So for Matanzas, looking at our students with disabilities, we're really pleased. Our students with disabilities are running ahead of where they were last year, except in 2 areas. That's helpful because now we know where we need to focus the second half of the year. So for us, that was geometry and 10th grade English. It's notable that we did have teaching vacancies in our ESE staff in those areas. It's probably not a coincidence. So now that we have those positions filled, we're really going to focus on those areas, in particular with our math science coach for the second semester. We're very pleased because our algebra for our students with disabilities was actually up 25 percentage points compared to last year. And that's where we had a consistent teaching staff, consistent ESE staff. So we feel optimistic. We feel like the strategies that we've put in place are working, and now that we have all of those positions filled, we feel really good about making a run here second semester.
Just to clarify, with your supporting data, when you say, like, for example, for math, PM2 27, is that percentage or those?
Yes,
raw
so
numbers?
that's,
So you
right
guys
now,
went up
that's students with
10%?
disabilities, yes, compared to last year.
Or no, oh, okay, year over year.
Year
So
over
it's a
year.
different group of students that you're comparing.
Sure.
What's the comparison to PM1 though?
I don't have it. We don't have it, well, it would be district data. Do you have that stuff?
I don't have that on hand. I can get that to you. But we
Yeah, that would be awesome to take a look and see that, the
Yeah.
growth from the beginning of the year.
We have it for ELA because the state, of course,
Just
gives
so
that
it's
assessment.
Apples
Sure.
to apples to see, yeah. Super, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, I'd just like to make a quick comment.
Okay.
I think a common theme that I continue to hear too, seems like, is individualized coaching, things of that nature. And I think that goes into parts of how important it is for like our paraprofessional staff and things of that nature, and the lack thereof that we have, to be honest with you. And I just want to recognize the work that I know that you all put into this, but the teachers who are doing this day in and day out to make these numbers happen and to show the growth that we're doing. Also, as a district, trying to find ways to really focus on what I've heard you all say today is individualized coaching, small groups, and how do we do that? How do we do that better? Because it seems like to me that that's areas that we need to be focused on as a board and as a district, because that's going to make some big differences as we move forward and trying to get to where we want to be as a district. So again, thank you all for what you do, and I want to reiterate that to our teachers that are doing this day in and day out too. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you all for any other updates on this agenda item?
We do not, and we do ask that they be allowed to return back to their respective locations. I'm sure they would love to just stay here with us the rest of the evening, but we appreciate them and their time, and we can't wait to see all that they continue to accomplish over the year.
Thanks for not giving up, because you guys are, you guys are awesome. Good job.
Thanks, everybody. How many chairs you want?
Nobody's sitting in. You're leaving, and that's your seat. So
Just leave it here.
Okay, so now we move on to 7.01, special leave application. Mr. Olet.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Board members, Superintendent. I am here to share with you a unique leave of absence that we don't come across often. We have one of our outstanding chiefs that is going on the operations version of a sabbatical to go hiking the Appalachian Trail for a good cause and through a special veterans group. This is the first of what you would see for 2 leave of absences since it crosses the fiscal year. This portion of leave of absence would take him through mid-March until July 1st. Then I will see you again in June, as long as, God willing, he's still hiking, and we would process the second part.
So what is the plan to provide support for his duties while he is enjoying the trail?
He's agreed to take a phone and talk.
You know, Google me. I think they got Wi-Fi on that trail.
Myself and the other chiefs, along with Mr. Sanfilippo, are going to just spread out some. The great thing is that operations does have some amazing directors, and so those directors will continue to lead their areas, and then myself and the chiefs and Mr. Sanfilippo, we're going to spread out, and we will divide and identify areas, specific areas that we will oversee in his absence.
Yeah, and so, you know, the day-to-day initial contacts, we've sat down and kind of cobbled out the division of duties. So a lot of the day-to-day initial contacts may come through me, and then I'd farm out to the different folks. It's kind of the thought process we initially worked on. And it's a fluid, and like, you know, Ms. Moore said, none of our directors are newbies. They are, you know, well-versed in what they have going on in the departments. So we're in good hands.
This does bring up an interesting point, and especially with another turnover that we've had recently is a progression plan, right? I know that you have some in place for, let's say, like your role and other things, but do we have progression plans for those critical roles?
Yes, as far as succession plans, when folks are headed off to, you know, greener pastures, either retirements or they're leaving, we do have, you know, those kind of pieces of the puzzle. This is a unique situation where we didn't want to have our directors take the eyes off of their particular departments in this case, as we kind of, you know, finish the year and move forward. In, for example, my department, I have 2 folks that are willing to step up and jump into it, and I say most of the departments, finance, for example, has the same kind of you know, succession plan.
Okay.
I think some of those things to prepare them to take over when that time comes for them as well. When hopefully that you know, doesn't happen, but you know, it does prepare them for what the future lies ahead of them. But I do think she brings a great point of having that succession planning for you. I know we talked about that in the past, of making sure that we're able to fill these critical positions all the way, you know, from the county office, but you know, more importantly, how we're going to fill these teacher positions as well too.
And just specifically to this role, we have very, very capable individuals that I do believe would be able to step up. But when we look at the larger picture of some other moving pieces that we have happening, for us, it was best that we disrupt as little as possible people in their roles. And so what we are asking for our directors to do, like they are currently doing, is to lead at the highest level possible in their area. And then Mr. Ouellette, he will come in and support from there, and then the rest of us, myself, along with Dr. O'Brien, Marcus Sanfilippo, and the other chiefs, we will have specific areas that we will also be able to support if they need a little bit more hands-on. One of the things I've shared, I'm sure with each of you, is that this organization we have experienced a lot of turnover over the years, and so we're working extremely hard to make sure we have standard operating procedures in place for our departments and our way of work, as well as to really build up our succession planning so that when positions become available, those individuals within our organization are able to step up and assume those roles. And so lots of moving pieces when we have amazing chiefs that have been doing this work for the name of education for a very long time. We thought it was best for this that we don't disrupt as much as possible right now, but we look forward towards the future as to what will the next chief of operations look like, who would be the next chief of any other department or the next director and all of that. So lots of moving pieces, especially this time of year. And so we may come back to you. It wouldn't be coming back this way. We would be communicating with you as a board as we end the year. If we begin to shift and go into a different direction to say we're going to elevate one person to kind of take it for the start of the year, we will be communicating that to you. But for this first half of the stint to close out the year, it's going to be us spreading out and making sure we continue the great work that is happening in operations.
That makes sense.
So one area that's super important for his role is keeping an eye on the developers and the mitigation plans and stuff. So is that going to be centralized with one person, or are you spreading that out?
So we actually have a planner that is hired, and you will have an opportunity to meet that individual.
Okay.
I think tonight at the meeting tonight, she will be available and presenting her first piece. So now Mr. Freeman is now in the supporting role of that person who that's their main piece. So you'll have an opportunity to meet her tonight as she begins coming before you and bringing those forward.
And she's very experienced, so I just, in the brief interactions I've had, it's like she's a wealth of knowledge and comes from a place where she's been doing this for a little while.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was mentioned, but just for the benefit of the public, that this request for leave is without pay, correct?
Well, yes, he will exhaust benefits, and then it will go without pay.
Okay.
So, we all get a benefit package. And so he has leave time and sick time, and according to school board policy, you exhaust your leave time and then you go without pay.
Right. Okay. Thanks for that. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that moves us on to 10.01, School Safety Coordinate Compliance Report.
And that is me in the transition. And so state statute does require that the superintendent and the board be briefed on non-compliance of any of our safety laws and rules. I would like to inform you that this year, in our last quarter 2 report, we did have 3 schools inspected by the state of Florida Office of Safe Schools, which is 30% of our schools. All 3 of those schools were 100% in compliance, so we do not have any deficiencies noted for those compliance reviews. Those schools were Wadsworth, Buddy Taylor, Belterre Elementary School. We will come back before you again and provide another update for you each quarter.
Okay.
Good job.
Good news. Any other questions on this agenda item? Okay. Well then, that now moves us to public comment. Is there anybody signed up? I didn't think so. So we will close public comment. And we will now move to 13.01, board member requests. Are there any board member requests this time?
I have a couple.
Okay.
You want to go first?
Oh, go ahead. That's fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah, go ahead. Good.
No, just something Miss Superintendent Moore and I talked about, and I believe she also talked to Miss Ramirez about. I don't know if I want to call it like town hall, but each of us making the time to be present at our schools, like specifically setting time and coordinating with our principals so that we can be available to teachers and staff. Not everybody wants to send an email or, come to speak at a meeting, but just setting aside time where we can each just be there to just say, what are your concerns? Come talk to us. We want to communicate with you and be on your level. So just kind of wanted to put that out there. And see how we can kind of coordinate that. Just make it easy, maybe even just bringing donuts and I'm here in the cafeteria, come talk to me,
We've had several board members that have wanted to go out, and what I just suggest to Ms. Chong, as we were discussing it, to say, let's bring it up, let's, if the board is interested in doing it, even if everyone isn't, let's just identify a structure that we will put in place so that we can communicate that out and move forward with that. I recommend that you would go and be available at the schools that you are assigned for your liaison, and set that up. Again, it doesn't have to be organized and organized through me. I just want to be able to communicate to our leaders what to expect.
Yeah, I think that's great encouragement, but again, we have that individual ability without any structure. If there was any procedure to put into place for setting up, if a group of teachers wanted to meet with a board member for a specific thing, maybe something along those lines, and then the district would coordinate with our schedules for specific meetings. I think that could be a good way to do that, but making yourselves available, I think that just is a given.
No, it is, and we
Yeah.
are present there, but this is just, I just kind of wanted to collectively just say, let's make some time available to teachers and staff, so that they know that we're here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what I will do, I will communicate to the schools that this is something that will likely happen over the course of this last quarter of the school year, as we move into the fourth quarter. And what I ask is the day that you're going to go, whenever you select that day, if you could keep Lorraine abreast of that so that we have that on the calendar. Just letting her know which date, but we will communicate this to our school leaders at our leadership meeting on next week.
Okay. I appreciate that. Second thing is, I know we briefly talked about Guardian, but just kind of wanted to know where we're at with bringing that information. And I know you've had staff changes as well, and I don't think public understands that. But.
So as of right now, one of the things that we're really waiting on, as discussed, is our third calculation to identify the dollars that are available to us. That really is going to guide a lot of the work that we needed to do initially for staffing, for some of our bargaining areas. And so we will continue to bring Guardian forward. So the next steps with Guardian would be for this team to go back into executive session to discuss Guardian again. The board has submitted some questions that you have around Guardian. We will compile those questions, and then we will have executive session that will be inclusive of time with our sheriff's office. That's where we are with Guardian. I think that it's something that's still moving. Our executive sessions, just the bargaining piece took priority, as those were just time sensitive in making sure that we could continue to move forward the operations that we needed to move forward. So I would say right now with Guardian, we will definitely get that schedule. Right now we're just trying to make sure that we can wrap up our compensation and our bargaining related to insurance as well for our staff.
Ms. Ramirez?
Okay. And yeah, so on my list, it's the town hall stuff. And I think it's just a different opportunity. All the campuses are having lots of events, and I know a lot of us are trying to go to them, but I think it may be like something new for parents or staff or students, because the students, when you introduce yourself and they're like, oh, you're the school board member? Like, they kind of like, wait, is this cool? I think they have things they want to say. I think this will be great. So I'm glad, if we can start doing that. And then obviously communications team, I think it would be really nice to involve them more with, if we're going to do that, just communicating that. I'd like to see that communicated more with, like, I know the social media that they do. I know we do a really good job on that, but just more of that. So that same exact thing on my list. And then I wanted to see if we could follow back up with the master school board training, because the deadline's coming up. And I know we're going to talk about it at the potential retreat, but that date is unknown now. And just to kind of remind everybody, we need at least 3 school board members to be on board. It's 20 hours within 12 months, so I think it would be very doable. I've been to, I went to the training last week in Stark. I just keep hearing such great things and what it can do for not like the board, but the community. You go through a really great training, you get acknowledged by the state, so I think it would be great. So just want to bring that up.
Just to address it, I actually have right here in front of me the master board sign-up sheet. So I know that there was one floating around earlier that I think we did get.
I think it's online. Lorraine
okay.
has it online.
So this was handed to me today, Ms. Lorraine. So you need to get everybody's signature on this one, right? So
if you are interested,
if you're interested in
Yeah.
participating. So I have it here. So just come see me at the end of the meeting, and we'll
All right.
see who signs on.
Yep, so just want to remind everyone, because I know we were going to try to do the retreat date, but now we don't know the date, and this deadline's coming up, so if we're going to do it, I don't want to miss the opportunity.
Thanks for sharing that.
I have a
Any
couple of
other-
requests.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like us to develop and make transparent the process, it being that we're in school choice right now. If in this year or in a future year that there is the number of applicants for a particular school exceeds their capacity to accept that number, that we make it clear what the decision criteria is then, and make transparent that rubric to decide, well, what from that group we can honor the school choice request from. So that's one item. The next item is, and I'm not sure if this would be part.
Are you,
sorry, go ahead.
Are you asking about specifically if we were to have to get to a lottery system for choice?
Yes, I would like to make sure that essentially what is the protocol if we have an extra number of applicants than capacity, that it is advertised, that it is made transparent, that that process is as public as it can be.
Absolutely, you can definitely bring that forward.
The next item is that when we workshop items and then we take them to the school board meeting to vote on them, I would like us, or the information that had been modified in the interim, to be highlighted and or called out specifically in order to make more efficient the review for those changes that maybe we've discussed at the workshop or other items that changed just organically. But really make that highlighted so that it's very clear when that new agenda comes out for the school board meeting and those votes need to take place.
May I ask a clarifying question? Sure. So there was a presentation here. We're at the agenda meeting.
Yeah.
The board has given some directions for some changes to be made. We take note of those changes. You're asking that at the 6 o'clock meeting, prior to you voting on it, we just make public, this has been a workshop. Since that meeting, we have done these things that you asked us to do at the agenda
Or
meeting.
there are items, and I can share with you that have perhaps changed,
Okay.
that were not at a workshop item or an agenda meeting specifically.
Okay, so any changes?
Yeah. The other item is obviously the universal screener. I would like some proposals for what that model would look like for the gifted students, as well as recommendations on research-based curriculum, as opposed to enrichment, which has a broad definition. And the last item is that I would like us to designate a team member on the leadership for the district to be set as the designated individual to work with the AMP president and to create the clear processes, expectations, and profile of students who would be best served for that program. There seems to be as we pick up from COVID and we get back into this swing of things, there's maybe some different understanding of the program, its utilization, as well as being able to efficiently process those requests, ensure that that's happening consistently between the schools. And I can make that much more specific if we
Yeah, we
bring
can
it to
definitely
them.
have those conversations. I will tell you, 2 individuals that are point of contact for AMP at the district level, Marcus Sanfilippo. Marcus Sanfilippo supports any organization that is coming into our school. So Marcus Sanfilippo, and then Mr. John Finelli out of Student Services. Those are the points of contact for AMP specifically. Few years ago, I mean, few is relative, but several years ago, we did have a different structure set up with AMP and other programs.
Sure.
We had individuals within the organization that did have much more of a lift in some of their organizational clerical items, and many years ago the district began to shift that to say, you know, here's our role in this relationship, and here's your role in this relationship. And I know that many organizations are still recovering from that and saying, you know, well, in the past, you know, there was a person who did all of these things for us, and now that person is no longer here because a lot of it has shifted. And so we can definitely make sure that those 2 gentlemen reach out to the president of AMP to make sure that they have what they need, and we have some consistency across schools. And then you and I can also speak for any details that I need to know.
And along with
them.
that, we do need to have that, the website updated. It still has old contacts, and it doesn't have the clear process information, and so that would be super helpful, I think, just for our community who want to participate.
We'll definitely do that.
Awesome, thank you.
I just have one.
Yes, Mr. Bars.
Is today's presentations about the schools, I thought was very helpful. I'm not saying that we have to bring all 9 of them in here like that, but I would like to see maybe have some sort of presentation or one of the schools to come in, at least kind of talk a little bit about what they're doing when it comes to some of their strategic goals and things of that nature, just to get a better understanding. I know we all try to go to their school, as many schools as we can, and learn from them, but I think that's helpful not only for me personally, but I also think it's good for the community to be able to see this and the things that are going, the challenges that they have, from the good and the bad. So I'm not sure exactly what that looks like right now, but I thought today was very helpful in looking at kind of the progress that we're making, and to highlight that, again, you know, the positive and the negative.
Okay, so that concludes board member requests. So we'll move on to closing comments. So Ramirez, do you have anything?
I'll save everything for tonight.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for all your work.
Anybody else have any closing comments? Okay. Well then, just again, thank staff for all their efforts today, and our wonderful principals that came today. We're really grateful for their presentation. And just to add on to the availability, I just want all of our schools to know, our teachers, our support staff, that if you would like me or anyone to come to the school for any reason, just feel free to reach out, because we will make time available for you. And you know, you can do it through the district office, or you can contact us directly, however you feel you'd like to do that. So, and Superintendent Moore, do you have anything to close today?
See you tonight.
All right. This meeting is adjourned.